You know that feeling, right? You grab a quick snack, maybe a yogurt, trying to be healthy.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Seems so simple. Just a quick, healthy choice.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that little cup of yogurt, or maybe that dairy dessert you sometimes grab, is actually just a tiny piece of this massive, like incredibly dynamic global industry?
Hmm.
Today, we're going to take a deep dive into exactly that, the rapidly evolving global dairy dessert and yogurt market. It's more than just what's sitting in your fridge.
Right.
It's a pretty fascinating reflection of how consumer habits are changing, incredible innovation, and some really significant economic shifts happening all over the world.
Absolutely.
So our mission here, for you listening, is to pull out the most important nuggets from this big global dairy dessert and yogurt market analysis and forecast. We want to help you understand the honestly surprising growth, the key things driving it, and the big global shifts happening right now.
And massive is definitely the right word. I mean, just looking at the numbers, this market was already valued at over $100 billion. That was back in 2021. Wow, okay.
But what's really striking, I think, is where it's headed. It's projected to nearly double that. We're talking soaring to almost $192 billion by 2033.
Double. That's huge.
It is, and it represents a pretty healthy compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of about 5.55% globally. Growth like that doesn't just happen, right? There are
Yeah.
some really powerful forces behind it.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Nearly doubling in just over a decade. That's enormous.
Mhm.
What exactly is fueling that kind of remarkable growth in dairy desserts and yogurts?
Mhm.
Looking at our source material, it seems like the main things are, rising health consciousness is a big one. People wanting healthier stuff.
Definitely.
And then there's this increasing demand for what they call functional foods. And of course, just constant innovation, new flavors, different textures, that kind of thing.
Right, and what's really sort of transformative, I think, is how these trends are blurring the lines. What even is a snack or a dessert anymore?
Consumers aren't just looking for convenience. They're actively seeking out foods that give them specific health benefits. And yogurt, especially, has really stepped into that space.
Yeah, you see it everywhere.
It's become like a cornerstone for a lot of people who want something nutritious, satisfying, but maybe not like a traditional sugary treat. We're seeing a really big shift towards options with uh, probiotics, higher protein, other functional benefits.
So the snack has to work harder now.
Exactly. It's like this cultural shift where the snack is expected to deliver, a nutritional punch, almost like a mini meal. And this demand, it's pushed manufacturers to innovate like crazy.
Right, bringing in new stuff.
Yeah, broadening the offerings to include things like plant-based versions, low-fat varieties, which in turn just attracts a much wider range of consumers. Different demographics are jumping in.
That makes sense. It opens it up.
And that adaptability, that's really why we're seeing that impressive global KGR figure, that 5.55% projected by 2033.
Okay, that really paints a picture of how a simple product can become such a powerhouse. So with that global view, let's maybe zoom in a bit. Let's look at the regions, starting with North America. The report calls it a key revenue-generating region. It's established, but sounds like it's still got a lot of energy.
Oh, absolutely. North America is a major player.
The numbers look big. It's projected to nearly double from 2021 figures as well, hitting over $70 billion by 2033.
70 billion, yeah.
And the U.S. is still the dominant force there, right?
Wow.
Lots of enthusiasm for traditional yogurt, Greek yogurt too, and also this surge in functional dairy desserts.
That's right. The U.S. is definitely leading the charge, but Canada is also showing really consistent, strong growth, expected to increase its market quite a bit over the next decade.
Okay.
But what's kind of fascinating within North America is Mexico. It's carving out this niche as one of the fastest growing markets in the whole region.
Really faster growth.
Yeah, I mean, it starts from a smaller base, obviously,
Yeah.
but its projected growth rate is pretty phenomenal. We're talking a KGR of like 6.81%. Wow.
And that's largely driven by, changing lifestyles. You've got a rapidly urbanizing middle class, people looking for convenient, healthy food options more and more.
So urbanization and that middle class growth are key there.
Exactly. It's not just general urbanization. It's a specific shift in dietary habits as these new groups enter the market with maybe different needs and incomes.
Okay, interesting. And as we're thinking about these shifting preferences, how does Europe fit in? It's another powerhouse, obviously contributing a lot to this global trend.
Mm-hmm.
The market there is also set to surge, right? Over $36 billion projected by 2033.
Yeah, Europe's significant. And within Europe, the UK is really leading the charge, showing very robust expansion projected to hit over $7 billion.
Reckon UK is strong.
Germany also shows really significant potential. Their growth seems driven by strong demand for high-protein yogurts and also what they call clean label yogurts.
Clean label, what's that exactly? Basically, products made with simpler, more recognizable ingredients, things people trust, fewer additives, stuff like that, projected to reach over $5 billion. And France, of course, continues to be a major player, consistently expanding towards about $4.2 billion.
Right. So UK, Germany, France are the big ones.
They are, but it's not just them.
Oh.
No, other European nations are seeing some pretty impressive acceleration, too. Spain, for instance, has a projected CAGR of 6.38%. That's exceptionally high for the region.
Wow, okay, Spain's really jumping.
Yeah, heading towards about $3.3 billion. And Denmark is also showing very robust expansion, a CAGR near 6%, reaching over $2.2 billion.
So it's quite widespread across the continent then.
It really is. And even the rest of Europe category, all the other countries combined, that's still a huge chunk, projected to grow significantly as well, reaching over $7 billion by 2033. It paints a picture of a continent really embracing these new dairy trends quite broadly.
Okay, but you mentioned faster growth rates, and the report highlights Asia Pacific. It sounds like here's where things get really interesting with some incredible momentum.
Yeah, Asia Pacific is definitely where you see some of the most dynamic growth happening right now.
The numbers are pretty staggering. The market there is poised for truly impressive growth, set to more than double its size again, reaching nearly $58 billion by 2033.
$58 billion, and the CAGR there is 6.25%. So, yeah, definitely outpacing North America and Europe in terms of growth rate.
So what's driving that? Who are the main players?
Well, the major drivers are pretty clear. China, for instance. It's expected to more than double its market size alone.
Wow.
Yeah, projected to go from about $10 billion in 2021 to over $20 billion by 2033. And that's fueled by, rising disposable incomes, a growing middle class, and just increasing demand for nutritious dairy products.
Okay, China's a huge factor.
Huge. But if we're talking about exceptional growth potential, like the highest rate we see, that's India.
India?
Yeah, India is surging at an incredible pace. It holds the highest country CAGR in the data we looked at, 6.66%.
6.6%. That's really moving.
It is. It's projected to more than double, too, from around $4.5 billion to nearly $9.7 billion. And what makes India's surge really compelling, I think, is how it blends ancient dairy traditions with modern health trends.
How so?
Well, you're seeing traditional dairy products, things people have consumed for generations, now evolving. They're being fortified, made more convenient, packaged differently. It perfectly illustrates how, cultural adaptation can really drive market growth in this space.
Fascinating. Tradition meets modern convenience and health.
Exactly.
So beyond China and India, these giants, who else is contributing in Asia Pacific?
Well, you also have other steadily expanding markets. Japan is significant, projected to reach over $6 billion. South Korea, over $5 billion. Australia, getting close to $4.7 billion.
So steady growth across the board there, too.
Pretty much. And then the rest of Asia Pacific is also a big contributor, expected to nearly double as well, hitting over $10 billion.
So if you connect that back to the bigger picture.
Yeah, the sheer scale of the consumer base in Asia Pacific, combined with those changing dietary habits we talked about, it really explains this high velocity growth we're seeing. There's just so much potential.
Absolutely. Okay, let's pivot quickly to Latin America, another region showing solid growth, right?
Yeah.
The market size there is set to nearly double as well, predicted to hit over $12 billion by 2033.
Right, a KGR of about 6.01%. So again, strong growth.
And Brazil seems to be leading the region there in terms of overall size, showing strong projected expansion, doubling to over $4.3 billion.
Brazil's definitely the leader, yeah. But we also see significant growth projected for Argentina, expected to reach about $2.4 billion, and Colombia around $1.7 billion.
Okay.
And similar to other regions, that rest of Latin America category is also expanding quite nicely, forecasted to reach over $3.7 billion.
And the drivers sound familiar.
Very similar. Evolving eating habits, more focus on health and convenience, and crucially, the introduction of new product formats, things that fit into changing consumer lifestyles, just like we're seeing elsewhere.
Or that innovation piece again. Okay, so to round out our regional tour, let's touch on the Middle East and Africa. The report suggests steady growth there.
Steady is a good word. Poised for solid growth, rising from around $5.9 billion in 2021 to over $10.6 billion by 2033. The CAGR is 5.42%, so quite close to the global average.
Okay. And the key markets within that region?
Key markets showing strong projections include South Africa, forecasted to grow towards $2.3 billion. The UAE is significant, aiming for around $2 billion. And Saudi Arabia is right there too, also projected around $2 billion by 2033.
And the drivers? Similar story.
Largely, yes. Growing health trends are a factor, just like everywhere else. But also, significant investments in cold chain logistics are really important in this region.
Ah, the infrastructure needed.
Exactly. Improving that infrastructure is key to support wider distribution of these perishable products like yogurt and dairy desserts. And of course, the rest of the Middle East and Africa also contributes substantially, projected to add another $4.3 billion or so.
Okay, so we've gone around the globe,
Right.
from North America to Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, Middle East, and Africa.
Yeah.
What does this all mean when we pull back and look at the big picture, the transformation of this whole market? It went from just a simple snack to this, like, multi-billion-dollar global powerhouse.
Yeah, I think what it all really shows is that the dairy, dessert, and yogurt market is just undergoing this truly remarkable transformation. It's not just one thing, it's a global phenomenon.
Driven by.
Driven by, well, continuous innovation, definitely, but also that heightened awareness of health we keep mentioning and this incredible cultural adaptation happening in literally every region.
Right, adapting to local tastes and traditions.
Precisely. And that growing variety, the plant-based options, the probiotic and rich stuff, that's not just a fleeting trend, it feels like a fundamental shift. It ensures the market keeps attracting a broader and broader consumer base,
Makes sense.
which really makes it one of the most, I'd say, resilient and dynamic segments within the entire food and beverage industry right now. It just keeps evolving.
It's truly fascinating, isn't it, to see how this seemingly simple food category, dairy desserts and yogurt, has become such a titan. It really reflects our changing desires for, well, convenience, health, and flavor all rolled into one. We've kind of journeyed from North America really embracing that protein-rich convenience to Asia's just booming appetite for fortified nutrition and, Europe's love for maybe more indulgent but still functional flavors.
Exactly. Which actually raises kind of an important question maybe for you, our listener, to think about. Yeah, I mean, given this incredible adaptability and all this health-driven innovation we've just talked about in the dairy, dessert, and yogurt market, what other everyday food categories do you think might be ripe for a similar functional food transformation next? Where else could we see this happen?
Ooh, that's a great question to mull over. What's the next yogurt, basically?
I like that.
Okay, definitely something to think about. Until next time, keep digging into the world around you, keep asking those big questions, and keep making those surprising connections. Okay, let's unpack this. It's easy to just walk right past in the grocery store, maybe grab a few tubs, right? But that dairy aisle, well, it's actually become this fascinating battleground almost of innovation and consumer choice. So today we're doing a deep dive into the global dairy, dessert, and yogurt market. Our mission really is to explore not just its impressive growth, which is undeniable, but also the surprising forces at play and the subtle challenges brands are grappling with and, where it's all headed. Think of this as your shortcut to really understanding this pretty dynamic corner of the food industry. So let's start maybe by unpacking what's fueling all this expansion. What's the main driver?
Well, what's really driving this, I think, isn't just a sort of general preference for healthy snacks. It's actually becoming more sophisticated. Consumers have a much better understanding now of specific benefits. We've seen yogurt move beyond just being a healthy option. It's becoming like a keystone in this whole gut health revolution.
Gut health, right.
Exactly. Consumers, and you see this especially with health-conscious millennials and Gen Z, they're actively seeking out specific probiotic strains. It's almost like they're trying to curate their own microbiome.
Wow, curating their microbiome.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful demand driver. It goes way beyond just simple protein or calcium content now.
That is fascinating, that shift from just general health to this really micro-targeted wellness. And speaking of specific, the sheer variety that's available now is just, it's mind-boggling. It feels like every time you look, there's a new texture, a new format, some new flavor. Is it just about fun new tastes, or is there like a deeper strategic play behind this explosion of options?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely strategic. It's a response to what's become a highly fragmented and constantly evolving consumer demand. So beyond the standard tubs you always see, you're now getting everything from whipped to Greek style to drinkable yogurts.
Linkable, eh?
And each one targets a different use case, or a different preference. But I think the real game changer has been the huge expansion into plant-based options.
Right, the non-dairy stuff.
Exactly. Made from almond, soy, oat, coconut, you name it. And this isn't just catering to vegans anymore. It's really attracting traditional dairy lovers, too. People looking for maybe different textures, new flavors, and increasingly people motivated by sustainability. You see that across global markets.
Okay, so this innovation, it's not just about having more products on the shelf. It's also tied deeply into this broader, almost obsessive health awareness that seems to have really taken hold.
Precisely. That increased health awareness plays a vital role, especially with the, frankly, explosion of information out there about probiotics and their benefits for gut health, for immunity. This heightened awareness is directly leading to more people adopting yogurt as a functional food, not just a snack, but something that does something for them. And we're seeing this trend gain significant traction, particularly in, say, urban and semi-urban regions, places where these fitness-focused and wellness-driven lifestyles are really becoming dominant.
Okay, but every growth story has its counter narrative, right? Its friction points.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the inherent speed bumps in this market's expansion? What are brands really grappling with?
Well, one significant challenge, and it's one that often gets maybe underestimated in Western markets, is lactose intolerance and dairy allergies. A very large portion of the global population, particularly if you look at Asia and Africa, they experience difficulty digesting dairy. So this isn't just about offering like a small alternative section on the shelf. It forces brands to either innovate significantly with things like advanced enzyme treatments for dairy, or they have to commit heavily to making truly delicious and functionally comparable plant-based lines.
Otherwise, they just miss out.
Otherwise, they're simply missing out on billions of potential consumers. It's a huge segment.
And beyond those consumer-specific issues like lactose intolerance, I imagine the logistics. I mean, we're talking about perishable dairy products.
Yeah.
That must present its own set of hurdles.
Oh, definitely.
What are some of those practical challenges for like widespread adoption?
You've hit on a really critical point there. The short shelf life and the absolute reliance on a solid cold chain. Dairy desserts, yogurts, they need constant refrigeration, all the way from production right to the consumer's fridge.
Right.
And they have relatively quick consumption cycles. You can't store them for months. So for remote areas or maybe underdeveloped regions, these logistical demands create serious distribution hurdles. It really impacts product availability, freshness. It's a genuine barrier to achieving, true ubiquity.
And then there's the money side of things, the economic barriers. How does price sensitivity play into this, especially when you're talking about reaching into developing economies?
Price sensitivity is huge, yes.
Yeah.
Especially in developing economies. These branded yogurts and dairy desserts, they're often relatively expensive compared to, say, traditional sweets or locally made, maybe unbranded dairy products.
Local alternative.
Exactly. So that cost barrier significantly limits their accessibility for lower income groups. You see this particularly in price-conscious rural segments where cheaper, more familiar alternatives are just readily available. So it's this constant balancing act between trying to create a premium positioning and achieving broad market reach.
Okay, so given all these dynamics, you've got this rapid innovation, this really discerning consumer, but also these very real logistical and economic hurdles. What does this all mean for the future? Let's maybe look ahead. What trends are shaping the market in the years to come?
Well, one of the most prominent shifts, and I'd say this is certainly not just a fleeting trend, is the move toward plant-based yogurt alternatives.
Still growing strong then?
Oh, absolutely. It's clearly driven by, the continued rise of veganism, lactose-free living, but also increasingly these widespread sustainability concerns people have. We're seeing really rapid growth in demand for soy, oat, almond-based yogurts. And what's particularly interesting now is how these products are often being enriched.
Enriched how?
With added nutrients, maybe extra protein, fiber, B12 vitamins, specifically to attract those health-driven consumers who might otherwise just stick with dairy. They're trying to match the nutritional profile or even exceed it.
So it sounds like this whole functional food idea is more than just, a buzzword here. It's really becoming fundamental to how these products are developed.
It absolutely is. Functional food in this context, it isn't just about making general health claims anymore. It's about products that deliver specific, sometimes even measurable health benefits. So for yogurt, this means pushing beyond just having probiotics to
Right.
incorporating things like added adaptogens maybe for stress reduction or specialized prebiotics that feed specific good gut bacteria or immunity enhancing vitamins. Consumers are increasingly drawn to options that serve these highly specific wellness goals. And this trend, well, it's become especially top of mind in the post-pandemic era where preventative health is just a major focus for so many people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the dairy dessert and yogurt market is being fundamentally reshaped. It's being reshaped by this relentless innovation, by these hyper-specific consumer wellness trends, and just a growing demand for better, smarter, and crucially tastier nutrition options.
Wow. What an incredibly rich deep dive that was into something, we often just take for granted. We've gone from personalized wellness, really driving innovation, all the way to the very real logistical and economic hurdles that define market reach. It's truly eye-opening to see the complex forces at play in something as familiar as, well, the dairy aisle.
It really underscores how even these familiar products are right there at the cutting edge, aren't they? The cutting edge of consumer trends, health science, and actually supply chain mastery. And this, I think, leads us to a really pivotal question for the future. How will the dairy, dessert, and yogurt market continue to balance this push for innovation, for premium, personalized, functional offerings with the fundamental need for broad affordability and accessibility? Especially as it expands into, well, every corner of the globe. That's the big challenge.